Moore et al., Lorenzo Rogan, civil infraction, fire lane parking, and no proof of registration. Mr. Rogan, can you identify yourself for the record?
Lorenzo Adam Rogan.
I'm sorry, what was the name? Oh, Lorenzo Adam Rogan. Thank you, Mr. Rogan. And Ms. Burton, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, I believe we do have Officer Stu Jackson. See? Yes.
Let me see. Was there an offer made to Mr. Rogan?
No.
I didn't talk to him at all, Judge.
Mr. Rogan, were you interested? There's 2 civil infractions here. Are you interested in talking to the city attorney to see if she can work out an agreement with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Call your first witness, Ms. Burton.
Your Honor, thank you. At this time, we'd like to call Officer Stuart Jackson to the stand.
Mr. Jackson, can you please state your full name, please?
Officer Stuart Jackson.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Burton, you may proceed.
Yes, Officer Jackson, sir. How are you employed?
I'm employed by the city of Highland Park as a police officer.
Police officer. Okay, and were you working as a police officer on April the 5th, 2022?
Yes.
And at about 4:04 p.m., were you in the area of 14122 Woodward Avenue near Sears Street?
Yes, I was.
And is that located within the city of Highland Park?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and sir, did something during that date and time, did something or someone come to your attention?
It was a black vehicle, Chrysler vehicle, 300, parked in a posted fire lane, yellow curve also.
Okay, and what steps did you take after you saw the vehicle in the fire lane?
I started to write a ticket for parked in the fire lane, and the driver returned to the vehicle as I was attempting to write the ticket.
Okay, so when you stopped the vehicle, it was not occupied?
The vehicle had no driver.
You saw the vehicle, it was not occupied.
The vehicle had no driver at the time. The vehicle was parked stationary in an improper location.
Okay, and what was it about the location that indicated it was not appropriate to park there?
It was a yellow curve, posted signs along the avenue of fire lane.
Okay, and did you ultimately have some contact with someone?
Mr. Logan, he identified himself as the owner and driver of the vehicle.
Okay.
He returned to the vehicle.
All right. And were there any particular documents that you requested from Mr. Rogan?
As for his license, registration, proof of insurance.
And were those documents provided?
He refused multiple times of asking for those documents. He refused to display them.
Okay, and once you had that refusal, did you take any particular steps to verify if those documents existed?
I ran the vehicle and it matched the driver that returned to the vehicle by a photo that came through SOS.
Okay, and sir, the photo that came through was for what name?
The owner of the vehicle matched the person that was standing in front of me.
And what was the name of the person?
I believe it was Logan.
Leandra.
Somebody's talking. So whoever's talking, you have to put yourself on mute or you will be placed in a waiting room.
Officer Jackson, can you repeat that? I'm sorry. The person that
it was Lorenzo Logan.
Is it Logan or Rogan?
Rogan.
Okay, and sir, do you see Mr. Rogan on the in court by Zoom?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let the record reflect that. Well, can you identify something that he's wearing or facial feature?
Facial features the same beard, the same low haircut.
Okay. You gotta ask the record to reflect that Officer Stewart has identified Mr. Lorenzo Rogan.
Okay.
And did you take any steps after running the information, running his name?
We went back and forth, asking for a driver's license. He refused. And I just took it upon myself to go ahead and run the information, but he still refused to hand over a registration for the vehicle. So I wrote him a citation for the parking in the fire lane and failed to display a registration for the vehicle.
Okay. And was all this in the city of Detroit?
City Hall.
I'm sorry, City Highland Park. I'm sorry, City Highland Park.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Judge. I have nothing further at this time.
Okay. Mr. Rogan, do you have questions?
I have. Yes, I do.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Officer Jackson, when you approach, you said that I didn't give you my identification or the proof of insurance. Is that what you're stating?
I said you didn't give me proof of registration.
You said all documents. You said I refuse to give you identification, sir.
At first, you refused everything.
I never refused anything. I said I asked you.
Officer
Okay.
Mr. Rogan.
Sorry.
You
I'm
can
sorry.
make statements,
Only
but
in the
at
Marines.
this
Only in the
junction,
Marines.
You can only ask questions.
Okay, sorry. And you said that I wasn't driving, correct?
Since you returned back to your vehicle that you parked,
That I wasn't driving, correct? I wasn't operating a motor vehicle, correct?
You said you were the driver of the vehicle.
Okay. Next question is when you tried to do your parking ticket, your fire lane ticket, was the vehicle being operated?
The vehicle was stationary.
So it wasn't being operated. Was it being operated? Was anyone in the driver's seat? Did you happen to see?
There was no one in the driver's seat.
Thank you.
Now, back to the vehicle.
Okay. And in order to, from Michigan Penal Codes, MCL, in order to request registration from a person, that vehicle has to be operated on a street, right? Or by a person that's doing that, right?
Upon request, I can now ask you for that.
You can ask me for a registration if I'm not operating a vehicle?
Registration, proof of insurance to show that you own the vehicle.
Okay.
In question.
Seems like training needs to go on. Did you know that Michigan is not a stop and ID state?
Whoever's making noise, you have to place yourself on mute, or I'm going to put you in a breakout, a waiting room. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Rogan.
Did you know Michigan is not a stop and ID state?
I did not stop you or ID you. You approached me and you present yourself as the owner of the vehicle.
You requested identification. Was there a crime being committed?
I needed to know who I was talking to at that time.
Was there a crime being committed, sir? Your Honor, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. The witness is being evasive, so I'm satisfied. There's no more questions.
Any other questions? Redirect Ms. Burton.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Rogan, did you want to testify? Did you have any witnesses?
Yes, I do have to. I do want to testify, and I do have witnesses.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes.
I don't know. I sent a motion of appeal to the 30th District Court. I don't know if you got that motion.
I'm not sure.
I sent a certified mail UPS.
You asked for a hearing from the informal hearing, and
Correct.
this is the appeal.
This is the hearing. I kind of figured they wouldn't give you a motion as such as this, but I don't. Can I read it to you, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. Now comes Lorenzo Rogan by formal motion, and around the time of 4/5 of 2022, complainant was notified by Leandra Brown that a police officer had pulled behind his car. Complainant exited the convenience store DTRL when approaching the officer, better described on the ticket as S. Jackson, badge number 134. Mr. Jackson had his overhead lights on and was sitting in the squad car when complainant approached Mr. Jackson, asking how could he help him. Mr. Jackson exited his squad car, asking complainant was this his car? Complainant responded, yes. Complainant was then asked for his license and registration. Complainant responded to officer's request request with "You must be looking for trouble." Complainant was asked to repeat himself. Complainant did, alongside with placing the officer on notice of the direct violation of Title 18, Section 242, acting under the color of law. In the instant, Officer Jackson violates complainant's 4th Amendment and 14th Amendment knowingly. Coming back to that, after complainant gave Officer Jackson his information, Officer Jackson responding to complainants walking away after making such statements with a demand or meritless order for complainant to sit in his vehicle. Complainant respond to the meritless order with, "You didn't roll up on me in my car. I'm going to finish paying for my shoes." Officer Jackson responded to complainant's free will with a threat of impoundment of his vehicle. To further demonstration of deprivation of complainant's 14th and 4th Amendment rights, Officer Jackson using the tainted evidence from the poisonous tree to write a ticket for no proof of registration and no fire lane violation. Exhibit 1, ticket. Clearly, this is a fire lane ticket, not Terry versus Ohio, just a parking ticket with which all information was ready and available if Officer Jackson sought it. From the Highland Park Police Department saw it. Complainant reiterates he looked up his insurance on his phone, showed that he had Progressive, and notified the Officer Jackson of his duty to verify the proof of registration on the back of the tag. Because complainant did not feel comfortable opening his glove box for Officer Jackson, hence the lack of transparency or probable cause this was only a parking ticket. Officer Jackson knows this or should have known this. Thus, it shows the lack of training and violation of such elements warrants claims under 42, 1983 U.S.C. and criminal charges acting under the color of law, Title 18, Section 242, by all standards set forth by the Department of Justice. To further Officer Jackson's harassment to bully or force his way into complainant's car, to further his meritless search of complainant's car, or to further his reach for probable cause unlawfully. It's clear that the complainant was not driving by Officer Jackson's own admission, so there was no lawful ground for Officer Jackson to request identification from the complainant, let alone proof of registration or insurance. This alone is a 4th Amendment violation and a 14th Amendment violation, as Michigan is not a stop and ID state. There was no crime being committed for complainant to must self-identify. Thus, it amounts in violation of 1963 Article 1, Section 11, January 1st, Peoples versus Pingleton. Complainant contends that the unlawful detainment and seizure of his documents were very much so unlawful in accordance with the 4th Amendment, but we're just doing a Michigan legislator. Complainant was never committed any crime. Thus, hence the lack of probable cause that the Officer Jackson had to request identification. But in light of transparency, complainant relinquished his identification to Officer X Jackson and turned over his proof of insurance. Cite Exhibit 1. No entries made for no ops on person, no proof of insurance. Complainant was scared, shaking, and suffering from PTSD from similar situations as these. Coming forth with such documents was not good enough for Officer X Jackson of the Highland Park Police Department. He wanted to forcibly detain complainant via threats of impoundment, of seizure, complainant's driver's license. Complainant was not free to leave. Cite dash cam video. Officer Jackson, if you do not get back in your vehicle, I'm going to tow it. Wherefore, the complainant is respectfully requesting that this honorable court move to dismiss both citations, as Officer Jackson is acting as a private actor and not an immune one. Thus, a private actor is not protected under the immunities, as Officer Jackson has diligently shown he is not entitled to, as Officer Jackson wrote both citations, one ticket, while in the instant a private actor. Based off the merits, not once did magistrate judge ask me if I had proof of registration at bar. It's clearly a waivable offense. It's right on the ticket, but prejudicially finding the complainant responsible. Thus, prejudice is built. As a matter of law, complainant was never had to produce his registration in the first place, and was never asked at the date of hearing if he possessed such. In the transcript.
Thank you. Do you have any other? So you have no more witnesses.
Yes, Leandra Brown. Come here, Lily.
Who?
This is my fiance. She was posted in the car. The judge wants to talk to you.
Hello. Hi, state your name for me, please.
Leandra Brown.
Hi, Ms. Brown. Can you spell your first name for me?
Leandra.
Hi, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Mr. Rogan, you can continue with your witness.
Leandra, the day that you seen Officer S. Jackson, what did you see from him?
Can you be more specific, Mr.
Yes, I can be
Rogan?
more descriptive. When Officer Jackson pulled up, was he in the process of writing a ticket? Did he come up to the window? He just sat in the car. What did you do after that?
Your Honor, leading the witness.
Okay,
Yeah, you just have to ask her open-ended questions.
gotcha. What did you do after Officer Jackson pulled up?
After he pulled up,
Yes.
I came in the store to get you.
Okay, and I was in the store, correct?
Yes.
I wasn't driving. Okay, and what did you see after that? What happened after that?
You came out and you guys kind of got into it a little bit.
Okay. Did you see the witness relinquish his information to Officer Jackson? You didn't see
Just
that?
the witness, he's got to give some.
Did you see?
He's referring to himself.
Did you
Excuse
see?
me, Judge, I just need the record to be clear.
Sorry, counsel. Did you see Officer Jackson or Mr. Rogan, myself, produce identification or proof of insurance to Officer Jackson? You didn't see that? Okay. No.
Is it a no, Miss? I can't
No,
hear you. Miss
no,
Evans.
I'm sorry, no.
Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
what was the conversation that you heard, if any, from Officer Jackson and the complainant?
Well, just an objection to a general conversation. If there's a statement and he's trying to impeach in some way, then he needs to be more specific as it relates to that. But
Can
over
you
here in
just
the
be,
conversation,
Can you just be a little more specific with the question, Mr. Rogan, so we're clear who you, what exactly you're referring to? I'm not sure if you want her to try to reiterate an entire conversation. I'm not sure how long the conversation was. That could be, so maybe we can be a little more specific in time.
Okay. Did you hear Officer Jackson state that he was going to impound my vehicle if I didn't sit in it?
Yes, I did hear that. Yes.
You heard that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Judge, I missed his question. Impound the vehicle if what?
If he didn't sit in it.
If I didn't sit in it.
But Judge, that's irrelevant. Now we're going beyond the scope of what the charges even are.
Ma'am, I have to object in that. If there's constitutional and Fourth Amendment violations, then that is very, very, very important right now, because if he's a private actor and he's doing this and he's violating the Constitution, where is it that we allow criminals to write citations? So that's.
Sir, Miss, I will sustain the objection. Can we move on, Mr. Rogan, with the question as relates to the charge of fire lane parking or no proof of registration?
No further questions for the witness. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, do you rest, Miss Burton, or do you have? Wait a minute, Miss.
Because I did have some questions for him.
Okay, Mr. Rogan. We'll now allow cross-examination by Miss Burton. Go ahead, Miss Burton.
So, Mr. Rogan.
Yes, ma'am.
So were you parked in the fire lane?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your 300.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
Was, being
Yes, ma'am.
referenced to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I didn't give it any thought. It was an accident, and I'm not speaking about that. The officer was right until he started violating.
Mr. Rogan,
Sorry.
Mr. Rogan, you can't do that.
Sorry,
You're being
sorry.
questioned by the attorney.
Sorry.
So you were parked in the fire lane?
Yes, ma'am.
And sir, when the officer requested you to provide a proof of registration, did you produce that?
No.
Okay, just have nothing further.
Okay. Are you done with your witnesses, Mr. Rogan?
Yes, just my proof was on
One
the.
second.
Okay.
Just want to make sure you're done with your witnesses. Any closing arguments